What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And the New York Giants offense took a massive step forward in 2022 under the tutelage of Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka. They combined to create probably the best-looking Giants offense that we've seen in about half a decade. And when you're looking at this New York Giants offense, it looks great, but there is a lot of room for improvement in 2023. In particular, the Giants need to create more explosive plays, more 20-plus yard plays, big-time shots downfield. They didn't make enough of those last year. I think there was a great step forward from the Giants offense last year, as I said, but they did leave a lot of plays out there on the field. Explosive plays, that is. Daniel Jones, great season. Earned himself that bag. Got himself that big 4-year contract, $160 million. He deserved it. He played great. But a lot of what he did was kept the football clean. Played winning football in that way by keeping the football clean, but didn't take a whole lot of chances pushing the ball downfield and creating those explosive plays that I mentioned. But now, heading into 2023, there's an opportunity here for the New York Giants to become one of the most explosive offenses in football with the additions of Darren Waller, Jalen Hyatt, Paris Campbell, Saquon Barkley still in the mix, and everybody else, the improved offensive line as well. So, in today's episode, we want to go ahead and discuss how the New York Giants can create more explosive plays this upcoming season and why it is so important for them to improve in that facet. But before we dive into all that, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. But without further ado, Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? And what are your thoughts on the New York Giants potentially creating more explosive plays in 2023?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I kind of feel like the Giants are kind of primed for a big step forward, and the main reason is that their offense is bound for major improvements. I mean, you look at the players that they've gained. We've talked about this pretty extensively over the last couple of days, notably, Jalen Hyatt, Paris Campbell, bringing back Darius Slayton, these speedsters, right? Now, I have some stats I looked at this morning and kind of wrote a little bit about, kind of breaking down the Giants compared to better teams in the NFL, and essentially the Giants had 16 big plays last year, and big plays essentially are diagnosed by 25 yards or more. So that could be a running play, it could be a receiving play, passing play rather. So you're looking at the 25 plays, they had 16. That was good for dead last in football, right? Daniel Jones had 10 completions of 20-plus yards downfield. So a lot of their 25-plus yard plays were running plays. And that's kind of disappointing because the league is a pass-happy league, and we need to be more proficient in that matter. Now, it's obviously relying on the offensive line. Can Evan Neal take a big step forward? Can the interior line hold their ground? Can our tackle stay healthy? There's a lot of different variables at play here, obviously. But taking that big step forward with the explosive plays should give the Giants a far better chance at being a high-octane offense. Now, we know that they ranked 5th in red zone conversion last year, but they weren't able to get to the red zone very often. That has to change. If the Giants can get into the red zone more frequently, maintain a top 10 red zone conversion rate, they're going to be a really good team, and mainly because they're going to keep the defense healthy and rested, they're going to keep them off the field, and the offense is going to be very productive when they do have the ball in their hands. So all of the different variables equate to a successful unit that helps this team win football games. Now, as I mentioned, Jones, 10 completions last year of 20-plus yards downfield. He threw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's really solid. Now, he was I think 38.5% completion rate on those throws downfield, which is really solid for 20-plus yards. He had a 46.2 adjusted completion rate because there were 2 drops. I think one of them was to Darius Slayton. Maybe both of them were to Darius Slayton, actually. So, considering that, it's fair to say almost a 50% completion rate on 20-plus yards downfield. Fair to say Daniel Jones is pretty good at throwing the football down the football field, and I think they need to do it more often. Of course, the offensive line needs to stand up and give him more opportunities, but opposing defenses are not going to be able to stack the box anymore. Saquon Barkley isn't our only weapon, given he's even on this team this upcoming season. We hope he is, but he's not our only guy. We can spread the love. There's more mouths to feed. Darius Slayton's obviously on the outside. Jalen Hyatt, tremendous out of the slot. You can put him out wide as well. Darren Waller produces WR1-like numbers when he's healthy. All of these guys combined, you can't just take your safeties and move them into the box. You can't take your linebackers and blitz you can't overwhelm. Our offensive line last year was really beat mostly because they were just blitzing more guys than we had to block. And that's ultimately a losing strategy when you're a Giants team that needs more explosive plays. So with more weapons, creates more responsibility for the defense. The defensive backs will have to drop deeper. The linebackers will have to cover. There's a lot of things it's going to change because of the different weapons we have at our disposal now. And what comes with that is more time in the pocket for Daniel Jones and more time for those routes to develop downfield. You can't just run go routes all the time. You need those crossing concepts. You need those things that, those out and ups and so many things that you can do to confuse opposing defenses and then wait for the moment that that coverage is coming. You see, okay, we've seen that coverage a couple of plays ago. We knew that we had an opening there. Let's exploit it now. Let's take it now. You're building your offense as the game goes. You're not game planning all the time. Maybe the first drive is planned, but after that, you're watching what the opposing defense does, and you're adjusting to take advantage of exploitations. And I think that's kind of what the Giants are going to look to do. But when you're looking at this team, Anthony, you're looking at the explosive plays, the lack thereof. Kansas City had 49 last year compared to the Giants' 16. And guess who won the Super Bowl? The team with the most explosive plays in football. So if the Giants can replicate that, if they can, they're not going to be able to replicate that probably, but if they can get into even the average mix, we're looking at an offense that transforms in a year. If they're just average in explosive plays, if they just land at, 30, we're in a really good spot because our red zone conversion rate is exceptional and we have really good players in that portion of the field. So, with all that said, how are you feeling about this offense and really expanding on the 25 plus plays downfield?
Listen, I'm feeling great about this offense, and I feel like for the last 3 years, I've been banging the table screaming for Daniel Jones to have more downfield opportunities, and I get it. He hasn't had the arsenal of weapons around him to justify taking those deep shots downfield, and he most certainly has not had an offensive line that can protect him long enough to allow him to take those deep shots downfield. But now that he does have those things, in my opinion, I think that the offensive line should be much improved this year. John Michael Schmitz at center is going to be a massive upgrade in my eyes, and I think that Evan Neal's going to take a pretty big step forward in his sophomore season. So when you look at that, the offensive line should be much improved. Daniel Jones should have more time in the pocket to survey the field and find some deep downfield receivers. But then there was the other problem. He didn't have those receivers who could go downfield. Now he does. Jalen Hyatt, a premier deep threat. He will score some big-time touchdowns this year. I can almost bet money on that. I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I would bet a whole lot on Jalen Hyatt having at least 2 or 3 deep downfield touchdown receptions this upcoming season. And Darren Waller, same thing goes for him. He's the fastest tight end in football, ran a 4.45 at 6'6". Just absurd measurables right there. And if you watch the way that he was used in the Raiders offense over the last several seasons, he was not just playing as a tight end, catching passes underneath and making yards after the catch. Rather frequently, he was going downfield and making some big, deep receptions. And again, Paris Campbell, same thing. We saw it firsthand. Us Giants fans saw it in Week 17 against the Indianapolis Colts when Paris Campbell went downfield, mossed whichever safety he mossed, and had a big reception in the Colts offense against the New York Giants. So there is a really improved offense in front of Daniel Jones right now. Again, I've been banging the table for it because year in, year out, Daniel Jones proves time and time again to be one of the most accurate deep ball passers in the NFL. But it's always in a very small sample size. He never takes those deep shots downfield. But whenever he does, they're on the money, and he converts, and he creates those explosive plays. Now it's just about creating more opportunities for him to continue to display that accuracy and create all of those big-time plays at a higher rate. And I am confident that that will happen this upcoming season for the reasons that I just mentioned. Plus, another reason I didn't mention, the coaching staff. I have a lot of confidence in Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka, and you just mentioned it. The Kansas City Chiefs led the NFL with the most explosive plays last season. Where's Mike Kafka from? The Kansas City Chiefs. He has that mindset. You could see it last year. He was trying to create some opportunities for Daniel Jones to take some deep shots downfield. I think that was really evidenced in both of those Minnesota games because the Giants were very pass heavy in both of those games. The regular season one, I think that you could argue they got a little bit too far away from the run in those games. However, they won the playoff game. That's all that counts. And in that game, Daniel Jones was slinging it downfield with confidence, and they were creating a lot of opportunities off of play action for Isaiah Hodgins to go deep on some deep crossers and find his way open on the sidelines. We all remember that play where Daniel Jones rolled the left, cross body, dime to Hodgins on the left sideline. More of that. That's what we need. We need way more of that this upcoming season, and I think we'll get more of that. I think Mike Kafka was kind of tooling with the idea of, what if we just let Daniel Jones run wild here? What if we just ran the offense through him? Let him throw these passes downfield, get creative, run out of the pocket, scramble, all of that stuff. And once they started letting Daniel Jones do that, I think that he really started stepping up to the plate, and he did it very well. He actually surprised me with how well he was doing that down the stretch of the regular season and into the postseason. So I'm confident in Daniel Jones this year. I think he has the arm. He has more than enough arm strength to drive the ball downfield. Anyone that says he has a weak arm, they don't watch him enough. They don't watch nearly enough football because Daniel Jones can sling it. Sometimes he slings it with a little bit too much velocity, right, Alex? We've talked about that before. Daniel Jones has a gun on him, and he doesn't necessarily know when to use it and when not to. We'll see sometimes in those short 10 to 15 yard passes, he just guns it, and then the receivers drop the pass. Again, he's really improved in terms of his accuracy, the touch on his passes, but that arm strength has always been there, and now it's just about letting him use it more frequently. And again, I think this upcoming season, you saw it at the end of last season, they want to push the ball downfield more. This upcoming year, they will push the ball downfield more. They have all of the weapons necessary to do that, and Daniel Jones really starting to come into his own, not throwing interceptions and not fumbling the football. I think that's another aspect of it too, Alex, the pocket presence, and I'll let you get a chance to speak on that because early in his career, Daniel Jones's pocket presence was just disastrous. I mean, it led to disasters for the New York Giants offense. He would stand in the pocket, get tunnel vision downfield, and never see the pass rusher coming, instant fumble alert. It would happen so frequently. But this past year, his pocket presence was great. We saw him break out of a few sacks. We didn't see him fumble the ball nearly as much. We barely even saw him fumble. He was really clean with the football. So maybe that was part of the reason why the Giants weren't calling deep downfield shots. They didn't trust his pocket presence. But Alex, when you look at how he's developed in that facet, how much confidence does that instill in you that this upcoming season, Jones now has the pocket presence to survey the field for a prolonged amount of time and find the open man downfield?
I mean, look, the truth is with Daniel Jones, we've seen what he can do against teams when his offensive line is playing well. The Saints, the Vikings last year. We saw a legit quarterback. We saw a guy who could throw the ball and throw it well and throw it accurate and navigate the pocket and do good things. And I think that's what the priority should have been this entire time, is building an offensive line that really, gives him the support he needs to be a great quarterback. Evan Neal, you're giving him time. Like, there's no question. We drafted him to be the right tackle. Andrew Thomas is our left tackle for a very long time. John Michael Schmitz, a hell of a draft pick. I mean, that was exactly what we wanted. He is going to be the best center we've had in a very long time. I believe that. Knock on wood and any jinxes. But Mark Lewinsky is serviceable. I think a year in the scheme, this year, second season in the scheme, I think he's going to be fine. I think even if he's average, it's better than what we've had in a long time. Left guard, Ben Bredesen has actually been pretty good when he's healthy. Josh Azudu has time to develop. Maybe he becomes the starter. Guards are pretty easy to supplement at times if your tackles are good. But I think this has the potential to be of our best offensive line in a couple years. And if it is, I think that Daniel Jones is going to reap the benefits and the rewards. As I mentioned earlier, they have a lot of weapons now, and you can't just stack the box. You can't overwhelm them with blitzers. There's too many weapons to keep track of. It's going to be about the Giants winning their individual battles. Now, I am curious to see what happens against better teams like the Eagles, who run stunts and a lot of different things and confuse offensive tackles and offensive linemen, interior guys. It's going to be difficult to stop them, but that's what it takes to beat good teams. That's what it takes. Sometimes you need your quarterback to step up and navigate the pocket at an elite level, like Patrick Mahomes does, but not many people are Patrick Mahomes. We've seen Daniel Jones last year, the step he took in the right direction when it comes to navigating the pocket, night and day. Like, what we saw last year was a different player, in my opinion. It wasn't the same one that we saw in 2021 or in 2020. That was a different person. What that says to me is that we may see a different person in other respects to his game this upcoming season, whether it be throwing the football, whether it be explosive plays. I think they're adding different elements to it one piece at a time instead of overwhelming him. The next thing I think is adding a deep ball again. I think that they completely took that away from him, not because of his own doing, but because of the offensive line's just inconsistencies last season. But now if things go the way we envision them going, the next element here is adding the big play. It's adding the explosive play. It's adding the aggression and the ability to give him the decision. In the past, we've seen them take the decision away from Daniel Jones and just try to like step by step develop him. Jason Garrett tried to do that and it failed miserably. They're trying to take the reins off Daniel Jones now. They're trying to say, trust your instincts. If you throw an interception, it's okay. If you hit 10 deep balls and throw one interception out of the 10, you're probably scoring on 6 of those. I would trade 5 touchdowns for an interception every day of the week instead of not scoring at all. So I think that's kind of my take. If we're more aggressive and it leads to marginally more turnovers, I'm okay with that because we're looking to score. We're not looking for the dink and dunks. We're not looking for the 3-yard plays when we need 5. How many times have we tweeted out, Anthony, the Giants need 5 yards. Why are we throwing a pass that's only going 2 yards and hoping for 5 to appear out of nowhere? take the shots. If there's a little bit more turnovers, I'm okay with that because you're looking to score. You're looking to do it. And, based on the way the offense is being built and the fact that we have Brian Dable and Mike Kafka, I'm pretty confident they're going to whip up a scheme that scores and generates more explosive plays more than turnovers. And, look at the Bills. Josh Allen's entire game, his entire career is being built on the fact that he's an explosive playmaker and he doesn't give a crap about turning the football over. He's still considered one of the best quarterbacks in football. So I think that you can get away with it at times if you are that type of player. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is Josh Allen, but I think he's actually a little bit more of a conservative version. I'm curious to see if they can add that explosive mentality to his game, and I think that's the next step for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think Daniel Jones is by nature a conservative quarterback, but I do think he has the pieces around him that can encourage him to throw the ball downfield more, and I think the coaching staff is certainly going to help with that. Again, with Kafka hailing from that Kansas City tree, Dable coming from Buffalo. I mean, Dable's kind of the one who introduced us to the world of Josh Allen throwing deep touchdown passes, being the creative playmaker that he is, and scoring a bunch of explosive plays. So definitely trusting in Dable to get that out of Daniel Jones. And I think that gunslinger mentality is really important, not being afraid to take those chances. And for what it's worth, based on everything that we've seen from the beat writers, the reporters, Giants.com, everything is saying that the Giants have been throwing the ball downfield a whole lot more during the beginning OTA practices. Compared to last year, they were still installing that offense. Everyone was getting used to it. This is Daniel Jones' second season in this offensive system. Now they've shown up to OTAs and they've started slinging the rock, is what every reporter is saying, that the Giants are taking more deep shots downfield this year than they were even thinking about doing this time last year. And that's music to my ears. That's exciting. And I think that another thing to throw in there, Brian Dable is a very smart coach, and him, Wink Martindale, Mike Kafka, I've heard all three of them reference analytics on different occasions, the data, how they look at advanced stats. They have definitely seen these stats that we're talking about not producing enough explosive plays. And what do good coaches do? They learn where they're weak and they make their weaknesses into strengths. So best believe Brian Dable and Mike Kafka has sat down, they've looked at those stats, how the Giants aren't producing enough explosive plays, and they've come up with plenty of solutions, creative solutions to fix that problem. And so I think that's what we're seeing at those early OTA practices. Again, I know there's no pads on. I know it's just 7-on-7, 11-on-11 drills, just team drills in underwear and just throwing with flags on their waistbands. But still, at the end of the day, they're installing their offense and they're trying to install more explosive plays, more shots downfield, and that will translate once we get into training camp, once we get into the preseason, and ultimately into the regular season. The Giants are already installing more explosive plays, so they know that this problem we are discussing today is a problem, and they are trying to find the solution. And again, I'm confident in Dable, Kafka, and Jones that they will find the solution and that we will see plenty more explosive plays this upcoming year. And of course, every explosive play that the Giants make, we'll be tweeting about it, we'll be screaming about it right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. But without further ado, we will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.